Hey everyone, how we doing out there today? This is the Flip Flop Investor Show, and I am your host, Todd Bayer, the Flip Flop Investor himself. I had to actually change back into my flip flops because I was wearing shoes earlier. Glad to be out of those. Very glad to be out of those.
The judge required them.
Yeah, apparently if you're going to go to traffic court, you gotta
You gotta spruce it up a little bit.
You gotta spruce it
You
up.
gotta go full denim and shoes.
Yeah, denim and shoes. It was an absolutely horrible thing.
In anything above 40 degrees.
Yeah. Well, they alleged that I had sped, and the jury's not out yet.
Well, it's still alleged.
It's still
So
alleged.
when I address it, I'm supposed to say allegedly.
Allegedly.
We went to court for an alleged infraction.
Exactly. But, to be determined. We'll find out. For those of you that are new to the show, we get together every week, talk about real estate investing, and every week we get a local investor or expert in real estate to come on the show, and, we talk about what they do in real estate. And if you've been following along...
The sound of you moving that mic makes my toes
I know. Yeah, I know. It's pretty bad.
Just do it fast.
All right, so for those of you that have been following along, every month we've been sticking to a theme. So in January, the theme was goal setting. In February, the theme was business planning. In March, the theme was deal finding. And now that we're in April, the theme is negotiation, which apparently we jumped the gun on this. We weren't supposed to jump into negotiation until, June?
Well, it's supposed to be analysis, which we did at the club this month. However, we ended up in negotiation apparently on the radio all month.
Yeah, I was misinformed on the schedule of events. So you guys got negotiation a little early, and I guess normally we start the month with our very, very good friend and special guest, Stephen McKee. Usually we start the month, but this time we're going to end the month with him, and then... Well, I guess we're going to start next month with you again, too, right?
Yeah, maybe I'll show back up.
Nice.
Depends what the pay rate is.
So, for the new people out there, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself? Who are you? And why should they care?
Well, I've been doing this a long time. I've bought a lot of properties. I've made a lot of mistakes. Made a lot of money. And if you don't believe any of that, then change the station.
Yeah.
No, I mean, legitimately, like, both you and I have been in this business a long time.
Yeah.
I guess our job really now is provide cautionary assistance to a bunch of people. So we're CRG, Community Restoration Group, is our buying company, and we buy properties throughout the Inland Empire from down to Temecula all the way up to, High Desert, Banning, to... Claremont, Pomona, that kind of stay in the central Inland Empire. It's kind of the very edges of LA County.
Right.
But the purpose of the company really is to help other people through joint venture, providing money for people for deals they have, and we sort of guide them along the path in exchange for a portion of the profits. To help a whole bunch of people realize their goal of. And I'd say goal of being a real estate investor, but most of their goals are just being free from their corporate job. Yeah.
All those people that are probably sitting on the freeway right now driving home might be very interested in not being a corporate type person anymore, and would love to get away from their desk job and take off that suit and that tie,
or get out of the ditch digging business, concrete laying business, drywall.
Yeah, we meet a lot of those guys too.
A lot of the skills on the other side of the board.
Yeah, and you know what? They tend to make really good investors because they have that basis in construction, which if you have any knowledge coming into the real estate investing world, it helps because some people come into this with none of that knowledge, like I did, and it takes a little while for you to catch up.
I found it funny to watch you try, though.
It was funny. I mean, I think one of the funniest things I did was rip out like every door and door jamb when I was just supposed to take out the doors.
In your defense, you saw me do it in another house,
right?
Or something to that effect.
Yeah, I think you were moving walls. You had a reason to do it. I was told to take out the doors. I just thought that's what you did.
It turns out the jams don't always have to go with it. They're hinge pins.
You could save a lot of money not ripping out the jams.
But they look so nice when they're done.
They were all fresh, and you know what? It sold that house.
It's deep.
The guys came in the home and with a deep appreciation of I just love these door jams.
The detail was the detail in the molding.
It sold the home.
I thought it was
that and the medallion we put in the
that was the
entryway.
medallion. The medallion was supposed to going to sell the thing.
Yeah, it did. You know, people walked in and they said, "I need this home because this medallion and these door jams are just top notch." So we got top pricing. We sold that thing at the top of the market.
You really did. It's not worth today what they paid for it.
Not yet, but they're still in it. The people who own it,
Yeah.
they still live there.
No, they're committed.
Congratulations. Hey, you know what? I mean, the old saying is, if you can afford to buy a home, buy a home.
Well, yeah, if
And they actually stuck to their rules.
the price, the idea was, right, if you can afford the payment and you want to live there, buy it, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not about an investment.
Right, yeah. Not when you're a homeowner. Leave the investing to people like us.
It's a glorified savings account at best.
Yeah. People, I think people cashed in their savings accounts last time,
Yeah.
last cycle, and that's sort of what got us into that little mess back there in 2008.
So what's the and are we going theme specific still, or are we like
We're talking about you, so the audience out there
I understand
knows who
what
you are and why
I'm
they should
supposed
care.
to be doing. Like, some people have heard me speak, some people haven't. What I mean is, like, are we going to give these people, like, I feel like we got some stories from this last month.
Okay.
I haven't been on in 2 months now, right?
Really? You
No.
didn't come on in March?
No,
Huh. I guess you didn't.
no.
Wow.
Because we moved the studio,
We did.
because we've been filming it here.
Yeah, been doing it live.
We moved the studio or the setup, and then we didn't do the build out yet. We haven't completed the build out. Actually, we haven't started the build out.
Right.
It's still basically a glorified storage room with a really expensive audio equipment in it.
Yeah, and a really good idea.
And a really good idea. Yeah, I feel like we should bang a hammer over there at some point. Well, maybe when they finish the gym, the
Maybe.
next couple of days, we send Rob over that way.
That's not a bad idea.
But I feel like we've had some interesting debacles over the last couple months. I mean, they've sort of made us trip into deals. I feel like the deals have gotten really complicated.
Yeah, well, I feel the same way.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, the rehabs are huge, right? We're finding, like, the outlying cases right now. So if anybody is interested in jumping in the real estate investment market right now, I would say if you're going to do it alone, you have to have a significant amount of construction knowledge right now. The construction problems are just huge. Like, the stuff we're seeing, I mean, compared to 2 years ago,
Yeah.
like 2 years ago was we were $25,000 remodels, carpet paint, new kitchen, look fancy. I mean, we're talking like partial burns, mold, water damage,
Yeah.
like 7 room additions with no permits,
Right.
city liens, like crazy stuff. I mean, they're more profitable,
Sure.
but we're not coming across. I mean, before, everything we saw was like you could do a bid from photos.
Yeah.
Now it's like chaos.
Right. Yeah. You definitely cannot buy a property without walking it and bringing your contractor. Now, I mean, we really need him to come with us and say,
Yeah.
this is what it's going to take.
Yeah, the stuff in my inbox, I'm like, oh my God, this is gnarly. So,
That's a house?
I mean, kind of. There was some of them like glorified sheds. Matter of fact, Tyler brought up, Tyler's one of our acquisition guys for CRG. He helps bring deals into the company. Tyler brought up a deal today. So the property on H Street we bought. So we bought this property in the northern San Bernardino area, like in the more semi-rural area. This property by it that we turned down, the one that was like built kind of worse than the one we bought,
Yeah.
came back. And the interesting part about the deal is we started renegotiating down even more for the same reason. We were worried about permits. We were worried about the quality of the build. And so I think he got the seller to agree to another $20,000 price reduction.
Really?
Despite the market going up.
Huh.
It just came back. But like, that project is going to be a giant pain.
Yeah.
And so this was a project from, it's been nearly a year, right, since the original purchase.
Yeah.
And the quality of the rehab of the neighboring property was mid-grade, and this one's going to be mid-grade, but I think it's going to cost way more money for the same quality of rehab because of the way the property looks. And I don't think we're going to get any more money for it.
Well, hey, I mean, it's the last project over there was a lot of fun. We got broken into a few times.
We
and,
lost a few sets of appliances.
Yeah, we also got the guy on camera, so that was pretty funny.
Thank you to Arlo. So anybody that, I mean, there's a bunch of these companies out there, but if you want to do it yourself, the Arlo, anything from Netgear's Arlo system is phenomenal, especially the new Pros. No, the Goes.
The Go, yeah, that's the one that's tied to like the mobile network. So
Yeah.
it's on Verizon.
Yeah, it's a cell phone, like it's cell phone based. Like you don't have to worry about the Wi-Fi going down. Like we got people on cellular streaming that went to like the web.
Right. It's
actually awesome.
You got a picture of these guys' faces. They're trying to crowbar open the security door in front of the house. You know, I don't even know if they ever caught those guys. We got.
They didn't. They said they went to scoured all the neighbors, talked to everybody. Like they couldn't identify them in the neighborhood, and they weren't in a database. So
they didn't have any leads they were working on.
I'm sure they were just sitting around at 4 guys at the precinct, just cutting the thing apart.
3 detectives working on it
around the clock.
They're working in shifts. Bummer. Yeah, I hope you enjoy that water heater and that stove
and microwave, dishwasher.
Yeah,
that sure brought a decent amount of meth.
Yeah, it should have bought some meth for them. I don't know.
So
it's a problem.
I think in that area actually is. So, do you want to talk about negotiation, or we're going to talk about analysis?
Let's talk about negotiation. We'll get an analysis.
We'll go to analysis like in the negotiation month. No, 2 months from now, because there's still offers in between.
That's true.
Next month's team is going to be offering.
Okay, so next month we're going to do offers.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we should do next week.
Next week.
But this week, let's wrap up negotiation because we brought in the best negotiator for the end of this month. Obviously, is you. So
I'm the hardcore take it or leave it guy. It seems like
pretty much.
It's kind of my job at the company. So in community restoration group, my job is sort of final deal review. So Todd and I work off each other, so we sort of check each other's work. Usually, I'm front end of most stuff, and Todd's back end of most stuff. So I'll when the lead comes in, I'm validating the deal, make sure it's worth buying. If it's not, I'm renegotiating. And then as we go to fund the deal, Todd's verifying all the numbers, checking with the investors, making sure the deal looks the way it's supposed to. So we're sort of checking each other's work. Same on the other side, when we go to sell the property, I'm looking at the initial offers. I'm working with the agent to negotiate with the buyers. And then as we go to sell, Todd's reconciling the file and paying the investors off and making sure all the numbers are correct on the other side. So
making sure the money goes where it's supposed to.
Exactly.
It's kind of a big deal.
It's kind of a big deal. With millions of dollars, you probably want somebody double checking that.
Yeah. I probably should have. No, I'm just kidding. No, I do. I have somebody else that helps me. So
actually, yeah, especially now. I mean, it used to be you and me going over the files. Now we have multiple staff members that are checking everything on the way in,
which is important because I mean we're only human. I mean we can screw up ourselves, something too.
Well, like 20 plus deals at a time. I mean it needs extra people, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So
negotiation. If we're going to jump into this. The way we kind of went on previous weeks talking to other people about this, we sort of went through the anatomy of a negotiation.
Okay.
So from, identifying the deal all the way to identifying what the seller's need is and, that kind of thing. So what to you is the start of a negotiation?
The start of a negotiation is when somebody says the first number.
Okay.
The beginning is like we're a little out of order, but we'd have analysis and offer, which are 2 parts of the process, right? Analyzing the properties to determine what the needs are, and offering on the property is putting together a structure based on the needs of the seller. So for me, a negotiation is when, especially if we have team members bringing us a deal, it's when the deal comes in, whether that's from an agent or from a wholesaler or from a seller that was referred to us or whatever the case may be, and they have a number, and I need to decide if it's worth the number. So for me, it reminds me of when we were lending, right? So with Rehab Loan Group, Rehab Loan Group now only lends on our own deals, but it used to lend to other people. And Rehab Loan Group is a hard money firm to lend to real estate investors. And Todd used to say, on every deal, you used to say that you don't ever tell them no. You just make them an offer. Mm-hmm. Right? You're like, I don't want to tell somebody no, we won't lend them money. I just want to tell them the amount of money we're willing to lend them.
Right.
And so I feel like that's sort of like the beginning step of negotiation. The deal comes in, and usually my comment is something to the fact of, well, I'd really like to do that, but.
Right.
And then it slowly converts over to like what I'm willing to do. And I think a fundamental part of negotiation is understanding your limitations. So like you go to an auction, some people go to an auction and they get bid up. And the problem is they got bid up because they didn't set number, right? Remember we used to go to the trustee sale
Oh, yeah.
and we'd write the number on the top of the page? We
Yep.
knew what our max bid was?
Yep.
Same goes now, right? We know that lately I've paid somewhere in the neighborhood of 75 to 78% of ARV of the after repair value, the price we're going to resell the property for minus repairs. That all depends on who's involved, who we got to pay, but the important part is keeping the risk level the same for the investor.
Right.
And so when I'm negotiating, I have these things built into the spreadsheet, right? And it's very easy for me to say, like, the most I could pay is X, right?
Right.
And that's based on my intuition of the value on the other side, doing comparable sales analysis, get an idea of like what the buyer demand is for the territory. And my offer varies based on how safe I feel about the deal, right? Like
Sure.
a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and a track in a city is a very safe deal.
Yeah.
We got one we're working on in Forest Falls, and Forest Falls is, it's not rural, but it's semi-rural.
Yeah.
It's out of the way.
It's a little ways out.
Yep, and I'm a little concerned that it'll be difficult to sell. So I'm going to be far more conservative in my initial offer.
Sure. I mean, how many people that are out there looking for a home to buy in Forest Falls? Nobody ever says Forest Falls.
That's a very specific type of buyer, right?
Yeah.
Somebody like looking for like a little cooler climate, mountain community kind of thing. But they want to still easily get to the grocery store, right? So this property's pretty cool, but I'm pushing more towards that 74% of the after repair value. So I just, then there's the other side, right? You have the person bringing the deal.
Yeah.
And the person bringing the deal, if it's a wholesaler, they just want to know how much money they're going to get paid versus what they offered the person they brought. So a wholesaler, for those who don't know, is somebody who talks to a seller, negotiates a deal, and they want to sell you the deal they've put together, packaged up nicely for more than they're into the deal for. So if they, the seller agreed to sell the property for $100,000 to them, they want to sell it to you for, let's say, $110,000, and you pay them the $10,000 difference.
Right.
They're just making it so you don't have to do marketing and advertising and, spend your time in the car, that kind of thing.
Sure.
So on the Forest Falls deal, the wholesaler who brought the deal she's pretty aggressive. Like, she's always trying to get top dollar. She has a decent network of people that she sells to. So, I know that like I have to pay as much as I possibly can, right, within like my safe, with what I feel is safe and will protect our investors, and it's not a waste of our time. We're going to make a profit.
Right.
And I guess when I say protecting the investors, I don't think the investor is going to lose money. But if like we got hit by a bus, like I want the investor protected, right? I want to know the deal goes completely sideways. We're halfway through rehab. The whole thing like goes to crap. I want to know that the investor's like, all right, I can safely make my way out of this thing, because there was enough profit margin that time. What if we had some weird circumstance come up that bought 6 months?
Right.
So it's profit and risk. So in this case, I have a better use for the property. I think the property may sell for more if I have the better use.
Yeah.
But I can't buy it that way.
No.
So in negotiation, I'm sort of on the phone saying exactly what I'm telling you right now. To explain to them that like this is the risk profile, is the maximum we could pay, and a little bit of negotiation now is just telling people like, sorry, I wish I could do that, but I can't.
Yeah. Well, and that's because we're very numbers driven.
Yeah.
And like I know a couple weeks ago we had Jim Keller on, and Jim his approach is very, and Jim to be this person. He's he walks into the home, he's looking for anything he can start a conversation about. He's going to talk to them about the motorhome they have parked in the driveway. He's going to talk to them about their boat, and maybe that even becomes part of the deal later on.
That's a nice frame you got there on that photo. Who framed that for you? Who's the company?
That's exactly what he'll do, and that's how Jim does it, and he's. He's very big on the rapport thing.
Yes.
But for us, it's kind of like, you identified this is a problem home for these people.
Yeah.
This is a house that is inconvenient for them. And the next step for us is kind of, all right, we've already established this is a home you don't need.
Yeah.
It's causing you more problems than it's worth. What can we do to get you out of this thing? This is what we can do. And we usually lead with the number first.
Yeah. Well, usually we're making the initial offer. And that's because we know what we're willing to pay.
Right.
Now, what ends up happening, I think, beyond that point, if our number's going to move one direction or another, it's going to be one because Mike, our contractor, our paper contractor who oversees all our other contractors, he'll walk the property and tell us, like, look, you guys are insane. I can't do this for $40,000. I need $65. we don't have any choice but to go back to the seller and say, look, it's going to cost us $25,000 more. We can't pay this price. The other side of that is the seller can sell us on value. They can go, look, this is in a cul-de-sac. This has a pool. You know, this property has $30,000 in landscaping. The other ones don't have. Like, there's going to be features about the home. This is a 4-bedroom. If you look deeply into the 4 bedrooms in the neighborhood, you'll see they typically sell for $10,000 more. Some piece of information we don't have that we can validate.
Yeah.
So they're sort of negotiating with us based on facts.
Right.
And that's, I mean, homeowners tend to feel pretty strongly about their I won't say features, but the things that are great about their home.
Yeah, I remember one guy telling me, you know, his house was worth so much more than everybody else's because his was one of the model homes.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I'm like, I don't know if that necessarily adds any value.
Maybe year 1, but not like year 20 after the wallpaper's peeling off the walls.
Yeah, that
and
wallpaper that nobody likes.
Yeah, you still got your garage is still turned into a sales office. It doesn't have more value to me.
Yeah. Yeah, all the features that, you know, were awesome 20 years ago are now kind of outdated. So,
but they may say something really interesting like, "Oh, my taxes are lower than my neighbors."
Yeah.
Right? Like, "Oh, half the people in this tract have solar systems and those are on the tax bill. You need to make sure you eliminate all those as comparable sales." And for those you don't know, a lot of solar systems are bonded and they're put on people's tax bills, and it actually increases your overall monthly payment, making the price of the home lower because the buyer has to pay less for the home to keep the payment the same.
Yeah, it's always fun to do those analyses, you know, where we take a neighborhood where they have a high tax base, and you can see why the prices are not as high as the neighboring communities or neighborhoods.
Remember, like in 2010, there were properties that had, and this is where it gets really nasty, is we had properties where neighborhoods where there were $3,000 to $5,000 special assessments a year. You know, and those meant somewhere in the neighborhood of $300, $400, $500, $600 a month in additional payment. You know, almost $100,000 in technical in payment value, right? And then you'd see the house is 3,000 square feet. And it's built in 2001, and it's selling for that high. It'd be built in 2004 or 5, and it'd be selling for, you know, $100,000 less than the 1980 property that's a block away that's 500 square feet smaller.
Yeah,
because of tax base.
Yeah, I went and looked at a new home community not that long ago, just to kind of see what's out there because it's always fun to look at the new homes.
Sure.
And I was talking to the lady in the sales office, and she was pitching me on how amazing it was that their homes are priced lower than everybody else around them.
Oh, okay.
And I said, well, what do your Mellow-Roos look like?
Yeah.
You know, because like what kind of special assessments am I paying for this thing? And of course, it's the sewer bond,
Sure.
the street bond, the street light bond, the trees on the street bond. Like
the elementary school.
They had bonds for everything, and I'm like, wow. So okay, my PITI is actually going to be a little bit higher than all my neighbors in those other neighborhoods because, while I might be paying less for the house, I have this giant, assessment that I got to pay every single year for the property taxes.
Yeah, you're paying $3,600 a month or something like that, and your neighbor's paying $3,200 a month, and their home, they paid more for the home, but your property is going to take. So most Mellow-Roos or CFDs, community facility districts, or special assessments, and they call them all kinds of various things to sort of hide when people ask the term Mellow-Roos. Oh no, there are no Mellow-Roos, but they'll call it something else.
Right.
Those are 20 to 25 year bonds typically, meaning that tax bill won't change for that until that term is up. So it's essentially it's like having another mortgage, basically. It's like another small mortgage with an annual amount attached to it.
Yeah, and of course your bank, if you're going to get a mortgage on the property, they're going to want you to take an impound account, which pays that stuff as part of your regular monthly payment. Because if you don't pay those property taxes and special assessments and whatnot, if you don't pay that, then you can lose the property. In California, what is it, 5 years?
Yes.
If you don't pay your property taxes for 5 years, then you can your home can go up for auction
through
the tax deed sale.
It's a really good sign of default too, right? If you're not paying those taxes, it's a good sign that you're going to eventually get behind in your payment. But the unfortunate part about a lot of this, and the fortunate part now, during the down cycle or during the last cycle, banks weren't using those special assessments in the calculation for your principal, interest, tax and interest, principal,
PITI,
insurance, principal, interest, tax and insurance payment, your PITI payment.
Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance.
They were only calculating the base the tax base, not the special assessments.
Okay.
So people were qualifying for a payment $1,000 lower than what they weren't actually qualifying at all. But if they were qualifying,
they could fog a mirror, so that was
yeah,
good.
exactly. You can breathe. You live here, great. Have a nice loan. But there was no qualifying based on those additional taxes. Now, the underwriting is extremely stringent, and they make the buyer qualify based on that, which reduces their buying power if those taxes are in place. And so when somebody advertises like, "Oh, mine's cheaper," like, well, yeah, okay, it's cheaper, but also the buying power is identical in your community versus the other ones.
Right.
Same amount of house for the same payment.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people out there, they see the prices going up right now in real estate, and I've gotten a lot of people, like regular folks, just asking me, like, should I buy them? There was a guy the other day, we just, from Boston.
Even friends, like miscellaneous friends will ask.
Yeah, they're saying, should I buy a home? And I'm like, well, I mean, it goes back to the old thing we're talking about. Can you afford it? And if you can, and you want to live there, then yes. But, I don't think people understand that because interest rates are so low, that allows prices to be where they are. Because if interest rates were where they were back in 2006, at 6.25%, I mean, there's no way we could have prices at that level because the payment would be ridiculously unaffordable for a lot of people.
Yeah, and unless banks loosen up qualifying or, they went to like 40-year interest-only loans, and 40 years don't make much of an impact, but interest-only loans make a huge impact.
Yeah, they do for those first 2 years when you're only paying the interest.
But the thing is now with Dodd-Frank, you have to qualify for the whole payment.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you have
one of the better things to come out of that regulation.
There are a few that are very landmark and important, and there are a whole bunch of garbage parts of that regulation.
Right, that affect us, we're not homeowners,
Yes.
Or consumers, but us as investors get affected by some of the, ridiculous stuff that really made our business kind of difficult.
Well, it was just loose writing, right? It was like people who didn't know. We were a minority part of the industry. They lumped us in with all the people who bought homes brand new for no money down and called themselves investors.
Yeah.
And then we got, sort of reined into this heavy-handed, infrastructure that we have to sort of pay thousands of dollars in attorney fees to weave our way through.
Right.
Which is unfortunate.
Overarching regulation. Everybody loves it.
I mean, maybe someday. Hey, we keep hearing someday, eventually, that Dodd-Frank is the only chopping block, but I don't see it coming. There isn't enough public outcry for it, especially now with a good economy.
Yeah, I know Trump had talked about it, but I don't think there's been any movement on that front.
No, I mean, and people talked about it even prior to. I mean, like a lot of, I don't even really feel like it was a conservative matter, actually. Like, a lot of people on both sides of the aisle, even prior to the election, were talking about how it could affect the economy negatively, especially with the stimulus. And all of them have sort of forgotten about it.
Yeah.
I think they got new stuff to complain about.
Right. and complain they do.
But, if they would just get together and vote on something and push stuff through.
What? That's not what you do in politics.
I know, right? We're still in the warring eras of this term, this initial term. So, so those are like a lot of the things that come up in the initial part of the negotiation, right? There's these fixed costs, these variable costs. Your rehab is one of the biggest variables. Your purchase price is just a result of that variable, and then there's all the fixed costs associated with the transaction or the resale that sort of give it a very specific value. There's kind of no way of getting around.
Yeah.
So I guess we're just a value investment firm in that way. We only buy stuff at a discount. We don't even negotiate a lot of terms right now, though it will be common later, but we're not now.
Yeah, not at this time. And it's it has to do with the climate of the market, I guess.
Yeah.
So, okay, so are you entering homes? Are you are you talking to sellers? Are you talking to anybody directly?
I'm about to, actually.
Yeah, you're going to start doing some of this?
Well, so CRG is putting together a new hiring program, right? So Todd and I talked about a hiring program where we're going to bring in new people every 6 weeks. We're going to spend 6 weeks teaching them how to buy properties as a real estate investment to partner with us. And then they can be a part of our acquisition team or sell deals to somebody else. Honestly, we're sort of just like giving of our time, and some good people will come out of it, and we'll decide who we like from the group and don't, and sort of bring them on. But part of the homework, and I'm going to do this with every class, is I told them this week, they have to call 10 sellers. So I said I would do it this week. So
So
I'm going to be calling 10 sellers tomorrow.
Okay.
And talking to sellers about their property.
Nice.
I actually missed that part of the process because I'm really damn good at it. So I miss talking to sellers because your job becomes putting people at ease, right? So you used to do something that would drive me crazy with the hard money firm.
Okay.
And you were right to do so because it was lending. We actually didn't know who was going to fund their deal. But you would say, I'd love to give you a guarantee, but I can't give you a guarantee because I don't know as an investor to take your loan yet, right? And they'd be like, but all they want is like somebody to say it's going to be okay. And you realize what they want.
Yeah.
But without saying that guarantee, you sort of have to like pat them on the back a little bit and say it's going to be fine. We'll get through this.
Yeah, this
right?
looks like a great deal.
Yeah, like trust me, either way you're going to do fine. Just let's get through this process.
Right.
So with the seller, it's sort of the same thing. I mean, a lot of the negotiation is sort of like the Jim talked about warming up. Like a lot of negotiation is that warming up process where they're like kind of getting to trust you, and it's really about a personality dynamic. So
Yeah.
sales is it's a multi-part process. The first is taking a cold lead, a person you just met, right, and moving them into the warm category where they like you. You're looking for some kind of commonality.
Right.
That sets yourself up for the ability to ask the hard questions. And so in this this set of questions, from John Schaub's Building Wealth One House at a Time, I'm just having them read them verbatim. And the first section are layup. Right? How big is the house? How big is the lot?
How long you owned it?
Yeah, what'd you pay for it? They're
Yep.
very basic questions. The ones farther down sort of put you in a position of being an expert, where they're asking you like, can I assume you a loan? Are you going to fix it up before you sell it? What have you considered renting it if it doesn't sell? Like these questions that make a seller really think about their position. And so that's sort of positioning them for the ability to negotiate.
Yeah.
And once you have that information, then you can start sort of systematically picking apart the lies they've been telling themselves.
Right.
Because in most cases, a seller
Or the lies that Zillow told them.
touche. In most cases, sellers, they really want to be an expert.
Yeah.
This is a big deal for them. It's a big sale or purchase, right?
Sure.
They want to know that they didn't get screwed over in some way. And so like it's our job to position ourselves and say like, well, we have a maximum price we're always going to pay. So you decide if you want to sell for that price or not. Go around and ask people, consult people, whatever. One of the new tactics for negotiation we're going to deploy is this 3-part offer.
Okay.
And if you're new to real estate investing, I feel like this is the safest way to get in. It's the easiest way to let somebody know you care about them. So if I'm sitting down with the seller, and actually this would work really well for real estate agents.
Okay.
Because you're sort of informing the seller.
Right.
You go in and you let them know like there are 3 ways to sell your property today. There's multiple, but you give them 3, right? Because loans are hard to assume, and the structures around them are difficult and only for the most sophisticated investors.
Right.
So I can simply tell a seller like, look, your property in the condition it's in, regardless of the condition it's in, is worth this today. If we put it on the market, we're going to sell for this much, and this is how much you're going to put in your pocket when the property sells.
Which is that's like the most important thing to a seller is how much am I actually getting?
Yes.
Once escrow closes.
Yeah, because that's a vague number to a lot of people.
Yeah,
They're
and
like,
it's kind of confusing. I mean, if you've never looked at a HUD
Yeah.
1 closing statement,
Yeah.
I mean, I look at them all the time, and sometimes I'm confused.
we're like circling stuff and trying to match numbers where they came from, and
Yeah, there's like over 1,400 potential line items
Yeah.
on a HUD 1, and
it's supposed to be transparent, which is a
oh,
joke.
man. Yeah, I remember because on some of them they don't always do this, but on some it has the buyer and seller.
I was gonna say the left and right side.
On the
Yeah,
left and right side.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm looking at the wrong one. And
Yeah.
I'm like, man, why are we paying so much?
Because
Like,
on the sales side, you may have paid more, like commission and
Yeah.
extra, and you're like, why is this so expensive?
yeah, like I remember I closed out a file, like going off the wrong side, and I was like, we paid a lot of escrow costs on this one. I have no idea why. It affected our numbers. We're like, wait, let's look at this thing again. What
Yeah.
happened? What are we paying for? And then I'm like, oh, I was looking at the wrong side.
Yeah, because we know we're going to be under 2%, and a lot of times close to the 1% mark on the, especially in a nearly cash transaction, right, on
Yeah.
the purchase and on the resale. we're 1% to 2% plus the agent commission. So we've
Sure.
got a really good idea what the round numbers are.
Yeah, but some of the fees they have on there
Yeah.
are you'll see
$100 talk to you on the phone fee. What are you,
more
a
or less
lawyer?
that's what it was. Yeah. Like there's wire fees,
Loan
there's
tie-in fee.
loan tie-in fee. I love that one. The processing
Yes.
fee.
Oh,
They got to
such
have that
a-
one in there.
Because like that was worth it.
It was. Yeah, I'm glad you tied in the loan.
But that's why like our escrow company, Emerald Escrow, who we work with, I mean, they now, because we're doing more than one transaction at a time with them, they give us volume pricing. So we just pay a flat rate per file. Like a file, I think it always looks the same.
Yeah, and if you're doing this at any volume, you should definitely talk to your escrow company about getting flat rate
Yeah,
pricing because it
absolutely.
does help.
Which, by the way, I got 2 sets of documents via DocuSign today from them.
Yeah.
It was like the happiest day of my life. So like, I don't have to go in except for the grantee to sign escrow docs anymore. Anna's setting them up, sending them to me, and I'm just signing them at the desk.
If only we can get California to adopt the online notary, that would be great.
That was a really nice experience, and we got kicked in the teeth when we tried to get it recorded.
Doesn't work.
So in that 3-part process, you have the initial one that says this is what your home looks like today. If you cleared all your stuff out and put it on the market, this is how much you're going to keep, right? And then you have a secondary one where you say actually, I take that back. The first one is if you sold it to an investor. In the current condition, this is how much an investor would be willing to pay. No agent commission, no whatever. This is just the exact amount you'll get in your pocket.
And this is a today price.
This is a today price. This is and you're going to get money in the next 14 days.
Right.
Right. So if grandma died and you just want to get out of Dodge because you live in Colorado and you're stuck in California until this thing sells, you may want that price.
Yeah.
Because it's not worth the time.
Those people are always fun to deal with. They're like living in a hotel.
Yeah. And
while
they're
you're going
hurry
through
up.
escrow. I know.
Hurry up. They're just any delay, and I don't blame them. They're frustrated. They got family death to deal with. I mean, this is a difficult process, and they're stuck here.
Yeah.
And it's always the one person that nobody else in the family want to deal with. It's the one kid came out to deal with the burden.
Yeah.
Then the secondary category is that if you listed with an agent today, how much would you receive? Doing minor repairs during the escrow process that were requested by your buyer. And then the third category is if you took it upon yourself to hire a contractor and remodel your own home to the best standards, what could you get for it? What could you afford if you sold it at the end of that period? And so category 1 is today money, 14 days or less. Category 2, listing the property is 90 to 120 day money, sometimes 150 days.
Sure.
Category 3, rehabbing the property, going through that process as a homeowner. It may not be very swift for you because you don't have a book of contractors like we do.
Yeah.
That's 180 to 365 day money, depending on how long that thing takes to sell, remodel, all that stuff.
Well, if you live in the property, that's going to definitely slow things down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our contractors can move quickly, and they can do things a lot less than they would do for a homeowner because the properties are vacant. They can start at any time during the day. They don't have to clean up all their tools and all their debris. They can kind of leave some trash where it is, and they don't need to clean up every single day.
No moving furniture.
Yeah.
Or accommodating your bad attitude.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's really what they're charging for.
Yep, pretty much. And yeah, I don't blame them for it.
No, I would too. I feel like I do on a regular basis.
I always feel bad when I have to call a contractor. I'm like, I'm sorry, it's on my regular home.
Yeah. I've had that sort of homeowners. I need to put wood floors in my first floor. The carpet it's not that old, but it wasn't really expensive carpet when they put it in. I'm like, I'm just going to put wood floor around where all the tile was, right? And we get wood floor at a really cheap price. I mean, we're paying usually $2 a foot installed. I mean, and the stuff's pretty nice, and it's bulletproof.
Right.
And I'm afraid, not afraid, but I feel bad. I'm going to have to make that call. I'm like, hey, Mike, you put your flooring guy over here? And then I'm just going to want to move all the furniture in the garage and sort of apologize for my just even being in the home when they're there. Because it is a lot more work.
Yeah. It might be worth it just to stay in a hotel just to make him feel like he's working on a vacant
Seriously,
home.
though, I feel because we convenience them so much. My conveniences are guys to the next level. I mean, he literally picks up materials and drops them off at the site. So now these guys have no downtime running Home Depot. They're not buying mortar or molding or anything. They're showing up. They bang out a bathroom for $300 to $400, and it took them 2 hours. And they made basically $200 an hour working the job. Brennan, a good friend of ours and a guy who does a lot of our flooring. I think he did 3 bathrooms in one day.
Yeah.
He made $1,200 in 8 to 10 hours. He was thrilled. And he didn't have to pick up material, didn't have to worry about any of that stuff.
Right.
So, those 3 methods, that the cash investor price, the if you sell it today through a realtor, and if you sell it tomorrow after remodeling through a realtor, net proceeds to the seller, I think are the only fair way to give a seller an honest option and let them choose.
Yeah. What do you want?
And if you're an investor listening to this, you're going, it's ridiculous. Why would I ever do that? Think about it this way. Step one, the investor side. And if you're an agent, hear me out on this as well, because I think it'll benefit agents as well. If you were able to buy it for the investor price, you win, right? You got your deal.
Sure.
If you're an agent and you sell it to an investor at that price, you don't take commission, you get the listing back, and you buy a loyalty, right? And you may be able to get extra commission on the resale because there's a bonus.
Right.
Because you can't get secret profit as a realtor, so you have to you have to be 100% transparent.
Of course.
Second step, selling through a realtor. If you're an investor and they're not going to take your price, you should get paid something for talking to them. Yeah. So if you have a license, you can refer to a realtor and ask for 25% of their commission. If you don't have a license, you can ask for $500. That's a limitation in California. California says, I don't have the code in front of me, but essentially says, if you were going about your business and doing things the way you wanted to do and trying to buy a property for yourself, and in the end, it ended up that it was better for them to sell through a realtor, the realtor can pay you a fee because that wasn't what you were initially setting out to sell.
Yeah.
And then I make an agreement with the realtor that says, if the property doesn't sell for at least this much, I get first right of refusal. I get to buy the property for that price. The seller needs a net X amount of dollars. If the net goes below that amount, I get to buy the property because it didn't sell the way they thought it would. Then the third category.
Makes sense.
Yeah, in the third category, you're just never going to get the deal back as an investor, right? They want to remodel it themselves, or they're going to completely trash the remodel on their own. They're going to call you, like, please take this thing over. I screwed up.
When they're halfway through it. We've done with them.
We've done
those types too. Yeah. Where they're, they have...
the quote homeowner work, and like it's even worse than it was when they left off before.
Yep. Sometimes you get a bad contractor.
Yeah. Or you get a homeowner do it themselves.
Oh man.
Yeah, and some people are skilled. Most people are not.
Yeah.
So same thing. You can receive a referral fee or a finder's fee, depending on your license status, by handing over to a realtor, and then that realtor is going to feel like they have some loyalty to you. So if a deal comes in on the other side that says like I need today money, they're going to call you first.
Yeah.
And so that way, every single seller you're ever talking to is giving you money. You're getting paid.
Right.
And I feel like people don't take advantage of it. It's a very symbiotic relationship.
You should put together a presentation for this on how every lead's a deal.
Oh, should I? Like where do I have that archived? Oh, no, that's the. I don't have that written out.
No.
No, I have the every lead is a deal. Is all the different ways to buy.
Okay.
Buying is a subject to, buying is a cash to hold as a rental, buying is a cash to flip, or loan for rental, or a subject to with a lease option on it, which that's a very complicated one.
Yeah,
I'm trying to explain on the
one.
radio. But those are three main ones. So I actually don't have one for the acquisition side. I actually want to make that part of our team's practice. And so that if somebody says they want to talk to a realtor, they just send it to me, and I know who all the good realtors in the area, and I just make the referral.
Okay.
That's kind of the idea.
And that, now that you're taking back acquisitions, now you can do something like that.
Yeah, at least temporarily.
Temporarily.
I'll do it for a while, and I'd like to refine it, make the system really clean, and then I want to be able to hand it off to somebody else. We have somebody in mind.
Yeah.
Who is ridiculously skilled. He'll do it just as a way to get him to come to the company, I think.
Yeah. We're trying to get him to put his foot in the door.
Yeah, even
there's some negotiation right there.
Yeah, no kidding. Right? I feel like we just need to get him really drunk and get him to agree to it and sign something.
Yeah, there you go. Too bad they're not.
It won't be valid, but it'll still be like, hey, you said, buddy.
Yeah, you promised. I do remember there being like a bar bet that you had made with Tyler about.
That was great.
What was the bet? It was like you're gonna.
I said that if we were schmammered, like there were like 4 Corbinians in each, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And
that's a German beer.
Yeah, for those who don't know, a Corbinian, it's made by Wursteiner.
Sure.
Is that what it? So
I think it is. I think you're right.
Yeah. So Corbinian is a fantastic. I think it's one of the best beers I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
Vents it. I guess I could plug Vents.
You could.
He
does let us use the Real Big Fish song from the very beginning of the show.
You're right. He's the manager.
Yeah, he's the manager for them, and yeah, so we actually get to use that song at the beginning of the show, licensed by the band themselves.
Yeah, instead of having to steal it like everybody else.
Yeah, instead of stealing it.
So, the only places I've ever found this beer is at the Brickwood in downtown Riverside at Vince's
at the
tasting
Brickwood
room. Well, it's the tasting room, right?
Sure.
It's a beer tap room, and they have like a bunch of amazing stuff on tap. And he buys up all like the rare stuff that nobody can find.
Right.
Like when it's like scarcity, he'll buy like the last 3 kegs just to hoard it so he can like sell it to his people. It's a good spot. But so we're sitting at the Brickwood, 4 Corbinians in, and Tyler was, and so for those of you who don't know, Tyler, I said he was our one of our acquisition guys. We put him in a leadership position. He wanted to kind of help us run part of the company, and he just sort of started like the first couple weeks.
Yeah.
And me and Todd were like, we gotta see what this guy can do.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting talking to him, drinking, and I said, I'll tell you what, I'll bet you $10,000. I think I said that I could put a deal in escrow before you, or I put it the next week or something like that.
Okay.
Oh no, and I said, so here's the deal. If you put a deal in escrow in the next week, I pay you $10,000.
Okay.
If I put a deal in escrow in the next week and you don't, then you quit. And he didn't like that idea, but in his defense, he's like, no, I really like you guys. I don't want to ever lose the opportunity. I wouldn't bet my relationship with you on for $10,000. I'm like, touche, I understand it. But he totally agreed to it until he like sobered up and realized it's a really stupid idea.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Tyler put 6 deals together his very first year in the business. So.
I mean, after that conversation, he felt like he needed to perform. I mean, it did his job.
Yeah, it did, I guess.
Either way, he felt like he had to push. But I think we could get some of the new people to agree to something stupid like that.
Something
push
crazy.
them along.
Yeah. So negotiation, dealing with sellers and stuff like that. I guess, I sort of feel like there's a level of knowledge and competency and confidence that comes with doing it for a while because, I know like you and I, we once sat down, we were trying to negotiate a deal with like a seasoned pro, a guy that,
he schooled us.
He schooled us. This is back when we were first like I want to be a real estate
he
investor.
did the whole like turn the paper upside down, write the diagram facing your direction thing. I mean, he just like, we still need to go see him.
We do. But he did this. He sold. Like I was actually renting this house with a friend of mine, and at that time this guy had ended up taking over control of the property, and he just doesn't want us living there anymore. So he upped the rent. Like
it was under rented.
Yeah, it was under rented, and he wasn't wrong for doing it. But we were very comfortable paying $500 a month for that nice house in Riverside, and. He basically just came in. He's like, "Here, look, here's what's going to happen."
Yeah,
he just laid it out. There was no option B. It was just here's option one.
Here's how I did the deal, and here's how it's going to go down.
Yeah,
basically. And we like left like, okay, I guess that's how it's going to go.
Yeah,
like we were given no.
Let me see if I can find another $500 so I can at least live there one more month and get all my stuff out. It was an amazing sit down, and so that was like 15 years ago, right? Like it was like the beginning of the career in the real estate. So, look at it now. Like you obviously develop some like serious, and I don't want to say bravado because I don't know if that applies to women, but you develop these chops, right? Where you can very comfortably talk to a seller, and you're like, look, I know way more than you do. Like, trust me, this is how it's going to go, and just be honest, and let a seller make an intelligent decision. Yeah, and it's. It's amazing when you see somebody that can pull it off really well. You can see the good negotiators. Yeah, and you can see the people that are really fumbling with it, and it's a lot of it has to do with confidence, just being able to, say it and mean it, and I don't know.
You have to really not need the deal. You have to not care.
That's true too.
The only reason I think I actually even survived as a real estate agent is I would trash deals that like I really needed. I would have deals where, like, if I don't close this deal, like, I can't pay the bills. And I would go back to him back, we don't even want it then. And I would, like, be pushing for the seller or for the buyer. I did, like, 70% buy business, 30% selling business. And I was completely lying. Like, I desperately needed that deal to close, but it wasn't in the best interest of my buyer anymore. So, like, I pushed really hard. And 90% of the time, they folded. 10% of the time, I'd lose the deal and try and figure out if I should wash windows or cars for the month to try and pay rent. Yeah. Or call my parents and ask for $500 to make it through like the next 2 weeks. But the thing that people don't take in consideration is how easily everybody else can smell desperation and agenda. And if you truly go in there with no agenda and say like, this is what I want, but I'm not going to lie to you or pressure you into something like it. This is how you have to have real knowledge of how the deal is going to go down. And when when they don't like your favorite option, you have to be willing to say, like, okay, that's a choice you made.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work out, I'm willing to do these things. But you can't force them into it or try and talk them into it, because you'll just push them farther away.
Yeah, some of the best, like when people that I knew that were doing short sale negotiation, like when short sales were really a big thing, it's not really so much anymore.
Yeah.
But there was this one guy, he was phenomenal at it, and same thing, he would give them multiple options, and he would go down each avenue with them. Like, you know, we'll try to get the loan modification first. We're going to do this thing. And the last thing along the chain is you got to sell. So, you know, and that's what he would do. Like that was his path, was just start with loan modification. If that doesn't work, you know, we'll try bankruptcy. We'll try all these different things. And if that doesn't work, then you got to sell. We just got to come to the realization that
it was a foregone conclusion. Eventually, like 70% of them were going to get to the end.
Yeah.
And he's accepted it.
And yeah, well, it's because, I mean, realistically, those were the options. This wasn't an angle he was taking.
No.
Like they had no other option at the end, and it was like, this is your last option.
But he actually added value.
He really did.
He added value and said, like, I'm going to teach you something about this process.
Yep.
I'm going to do everything I can for you. And when we've gone through this process, this is the option that's going to benefit me.
Yeah, and it was very, very good to see. And the people I remember, because these are, like, for some reason, I met a lot of these homeowners with this guy. He was one I was doing loans with. I was lending money to. Like I ended up meeting these owners quite a few times, like on the houses. Usually I never would meet these people or see them, but they would usually be home when I would come to do my inspection.
Interesting.
And you know, they were all like they loved this guy. Like, you know, he did them so much of a favor and all this stuff. They loved him, and you know, he probably followed up with them afterwards. I never asked him if he were like kept in touch with them after the fact.
Probably.
I'm always kind of curious, like if people stay in touch with these sellers, you know, and because there's another chapter they're opening up in their lives after they've gotten rid of this
Jim
thing.
said it. Like Jim was talking about it. He said, you know, I've bought 7 homes from this family.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and the family just perpetually makes mistakes. Right.
Poor family.
All of them. It's like a big family. Like, and all the cousins and brothers and uncles and sisters and grandmas and whatever. All these people they're poor with their money.
Yeah.
And so
he's not very good learners.
No, and he's there to help them every time. Like he goes in and says, all right, here's what we're going to do. Either he sells the property for them and buys it from them, or helps them with, you know, financial restructuring or whatever. But he's their go-to guy. And they love him because he's like always taking care of whenever they got into trouble.
Sure.
So he's like a pseudo parent.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, you know, it's so much more comforting to have somebody that's a sure thing.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to, like, I tell people all the time, too, like, because we have a mortgage broker we work with, you know, for people that want to get a regular home loan.
Yeah, Joe.
Joe.
Yeah.
And Joe's been on the show before.
Yeah.
Go back and tune into those
Joe
episodes.
Reardon's a fantastic lender.
Absolutely. But he's not cheap. You know?
No.
And a lot of people want cheap. And it's like, look, you're not going to get cheap out of Joe. You know, you're paying for his experience.
Yes.
He knows what he's doing. And
he doesn't bother you. He just like does it. He calls you and says like, "Hey, do you need money? Because we're ready to sign documentation." He doesn't bother you. He just gets it done.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that to me is a great lender. Somebody that can give you all your options, and he does. He puts out these crazy spreadsheets right in front of you. I mean, fortunately, he's there to explain it. Because if without that, I think my eyes would cross. And you know.
I think we've looked at like, what is that? What are the 42 lines on that thing?
Yeah,
and he just points where on the sheet you should be.
Yep, and he's like, these are probably your 2 best options right here. And then you go, yeah, okay.
Sure, whatever you say, Joe.
Whatever you say, Joe. All right, so we're running really short on time. We should probably talk about the Real Estate Investment Club a little bit.
That's a fantastic idea.
We just had the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club monthly meeting last night. So for those of you that wanted to come, you missed it, and you missed a great one. We had a really good time.
Whoever was actually
implemented some new things that we're doing. Plus, we're starting to put up all the video content, not just from this radio show, but also from the meetings. So check out our YouTube channel for the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club, and you'll get all the flip-flop investor shows. I think are on there right now. But
no, right now is the audio only from the first year we did the club,
okay.
And then flip-flop. Bruce is doing all the imaging and the audio to the image uploading, and I think he said over the next week they'll all be up, like all the flip-flop, everything. Awesome.
So yeah, well, stay tuned for that, and we'll keep you updated there as well. But for those of you that want to come to the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club, get to meet Stephen and myself. We have these meetings every month on the 4th Wednesday. The next one coming up in May will be on May 23rd, and that will be at 6 o'clock at night at Loft 84 in downtown Riverside. We always do a Saturday morning coffee the Saturday before that, so that would be May 19th. That will be at 8 o'clock in the morning at Arcade Coffee Roasters in Riverside off Chicago and University. And we also do a cash flow game, which is coming up on the first Wednesday of the month, which is going to be May 2nd.
Yep.
That's where we play the cash flow game by Robert Kiyosaki. That's at Romano's.
Romano's in Redlands.
In Redlands, yeah. So just down the street from the studio here. Anyway, I want to thank my guest, Stephen McKee, for coming on, and we'll see you all again next week. Take care, everyone.